Both you and Governor Shapiro talked a lot over the last 2 years about the importance of removing the state police cost from the motor licensing fund. For the last 2 years, the governor's actually continued that process, which the General Assembly initiated in 2022. But his budget now poses a slow phase down from $125 million a year to only $50 million a year. Looking at the rest of your budget, it appears this is being done to address your structural deficit in the general operations.
I think that's fair. What I'm hearing you say is that the $75 million reduction in the decoupling eases pressure on the general fund by $75 million because PennDOT would maintain that obligation to the state police.
That's what it appears. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Now, the governor's budget keeps state police costs in the motor licensing fund for an additional 3 years at no cost to the motor licensing fund of $375 million. What does the loss of $375 million mean for PennDOT's ability to deliver projects over the next 5 years?
It would, obviously it's better to have the money than not have the money, but at this, it's all the budget of the Commonwealth, and if we're going to advance a conversation with transit funding that comes out of the general fund and state police funding comes out of the general fund, trying to reconcile all of those moving parts, not to mention school funding and everything else, is a challenge. And so the way I read the proposal is that a movement from $125 million decoupled to $50 million decoupled is a reflection of the challenges on the general fund.
Okay, can you provide a list of the projects that will be delayed or canceled?
There will be no projects. You have to remember that the decoupled money, PennDOT used half of it for maintenance and half of it for construction, and they would be modest construction projects. $100 million spread across the entire Commonwealth for construction is a lot of mill and fill projects. So on the maintenance side or the construction side with $75 million spread across 67 counties, if you just did it by county equally, you're talking about $1 million per county. It's a modest amount when it comes to the projects that we do. So there'd be no list of projects that I could provide. But again, it's a reflection of the challenges in the general fund. But it is still a decoupling of $50 million, Senator. That's about a penny a gallon in the gas tax. And when you think about the $125 million that was decoupled in the first 2 years, $50 million on top of the $250 gets us to $300 million over 3 years, which was the governor's original proposal at $100 million a year. I'm thankful that the General Assembly and the governor's signed budgets in the first 2 years were more aggressive with making it $125 million. But even at $50 million decoupled this year on top of the $250 we have already, at $300 million over 3 years is noteworthy. And it's also noteworthy that in the year prior to the governor's service, the decoupled amount was zero.
Thank you, Secretary. And I'm going to go to something I've been asking the other secretaries that have been through here. Last year, we made a point of the fact of the constitutional requirement to go out 5 years in the projections and let us know what the projected increase is. It's a standard business model if you've got a large corporation or something like that. And we actually enacted this in 1968 through a constitution change to require this so that things couldn't be hidden and that the costs should be out there. Both last year and this, in the outgoing years between the second, third, and fourth, fifth year, we're not seeing projected increases. We discussed this last year, and I'm just kind of curious as to why we're not up to date now that after having discussed this last year.
And I'll let Chuck take a stab at that one.
I think you're talking about the 4 planning years
Yes.
in the budget. And if you're talking about our revenues, as the Secretary said, 75% of that does not grow. It's the gas tax actually declines, and that's just based on usage. So we have to, in the motor license fund, and working with the Governor's Office of Budget, we have to balance the expenditures based on those revenues. And all of our funds, whether it be PTEF or PTTF, all those are the same way. We have to maintain a positive balance in the out years. So if the revenue doesn't grow, our expenditures.
No, I do understand that, but we also need that those ongoing years for the projected expenditures. We all know inflation's a part of the issue here, and in the second round, I'd like to discuss some of that as relates to the bridge projects but those costs do increase and have a history. So do you have any answer as to why we haven't got all those expenditures down, or why we don't have a record?
Not sure what you're.
Well, I know my time's up.
Senator, if we could, we're happy to discuss it at the second round or at a sidebar afterward. I'm not sure we quite grasp what you're going for here.
All right, thank you.